Good morning. This is your Arizona's Family on the Go podcast, and I'm Scott Pasmore. This morning, we're hearing from a Mesa family left shaken after a break-in and attack. They have no idea who the man was or why he was inside their house. They're just thankful their 10-year-old daughter's quick thinking led to police arriving minutes later. Yesenia Cano and her daughter were about to walk back inside their home when the mom noticed the door wasn't locked how she left it. So when she walked into a bedroom, she turned on the light, and that's when the man broke through the door of the closet and attacked her. Yesenia said for a few minutes she really struggled with the guy, trying to just get away and back out of the door. Yesenia told her daughter to run away. As she worked to hold off the man, her daughter ran outside and called for help. Mesa police arrived minutes later and ordered the man out of the house. Police say he resisted, but officers eventually arrested him. They said the suspect, Vinder Reyes III, had a gun and knife on him. The suspect has previously been convicted for robbery, assault, and aggravated DUI. New developments in the trial of former Valley mom Lori Vallow, accused in the deaths of her two kids and her husband's ex-wife. Yesterday in court, the focus was on the murder of Vallow's ex-husband, who was killed by her brother in Chandler. A Chandler firefighter and two Chandler detectives testified about responding to the 911 call back in 2019. Also on the stand, Vallow's friend, who told the court at one point Vallow said she was, quote, done with JJ, her 7-year-old son. His body was found near his sister's on Vallow's husband's property in Idaho. The U.S. Surgeon General has weighed in on teen social media use, saying 13 is too young for kids to be on them because they're still developing their identities. And that's just one of the concerns on how the apps may be hurting your kids' mental health. So there's a program happening tonight in Fountain Hills that's open to everyone. The program will include a number of experts who will talk about the ways social media affects the mental health of teens. It will also include a Valley mother who knows those challenges firsthand. Katie McPherson, who will be one of the three presenters tonight at the Community Center in Fountain Hills, says she works for an app called Bark for Schools. Katie likens handing over a phone to your child to handing them the keys to a Ferrari without driver's ed. She's a fan of families leading technology instead of technology leading them. It's definitely a tool with a light side and a dark side, and Katie will certainly highlight that this evening. When it comes to modeling good behavior, it starts with us, the adults, and kids learn a lot about good phone habits from older people who they see on a daily basis. So if you're interested, it's free and open to the public. That discussion begins at 6:30 tonight. Governor Katie Hobbs continues her record-setting string of vetoes. One of the latest was intended by sponsors to help food vendors, specifically those who sell homemade meals in public spaces. Under common law, or state law, it's a misdemeanor to cook at home and sell in public. A bill to legalize that won bipartisan support in both the House and Senate, but the state health department and the Arizona Restaurant Association opposed the bill. Governor Hobbs vetoed it, claiming it would increase the risk of foodborne illnesses. Still unclear if there are enough votes in the legislature to override her veto. And Arizona taxpayers will shell out more money related to the 2020 election after lawyers for the state Senate reached a settlement with the nonprofit watchdog group called American Oversight. That deal puts an end to the group's lawsuit over public records. Through the lawsuit, the nonprofit says it obtained thousands of pages of documents showing former President Trump's close allies helped coordinate and fund the so-called audit with the intent of casting doubt on the results of the 2020 election here in Arizona. And in other states, as part of the deal, lawmakers agreed to pay the nonprofit $153,000 and admit no wrongdoing. The Phoenix area is ranking high among places with the worst polluted air in the country. The 2023 State of the Air report places Phoenix in the top 5 for worst ozone quality and 7th worst for year-round particle pollution. The report finds our increasing population and more frequent wildfires have set us back in terms of air quality. Well, today is 420, the unofficial holiday for marijuana. 21 states across the country now allow recreational cannabis, including Arizona. It's been just over 2 years since it became legal here, and the Arizona Department of Revenue says it pays to sell marijuana. According to the Department of Revenue, the plant collected over $74 million in tax revenue in 2021. The first year it was legalized, almost $25 million for medical marijuana and over $16 million for recreational sales. But get this. Throughout 2022, the drug collected almost $256 million in tax revenue, over $60 million for medical marijuana and almost $63 million for recreational use. We spoke to the Arizona Dispensary Association about how the plant's revenue is dispersed throughout the state, and the executive director says it goes to several entities. And another area marijuana's tax revenue was allocated to were community colleges. In fact, since 2021, Maricopa County Community College received $48 million in additional funding through the excise tax provided with cannabis purchases. And now the official numbers clearly show there's a lot of traction when buying marijuana, and a lot of folks are buying them from dispensaries. At the nation's capital this morning, President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy remain at odds over the nation's debt ceiling. During his speech in Maryland yesterday, President Biden said the U.S. defaulting on the national debt would be a big mistake. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy released the Limit, Save, Grow Act of 2023, and that returns discretionary spending to 2022 levels and limits spending growth to 1% per year over the next 10 years. The White House criticized the proposal, saying a debt ceiling hike shouldn't be linked to a spending bill, just as it wasn't during 3 such votes during the Trump administration. Even if McCarthy's bill passes in the House, it's unlikely to survive in the Democratic-led Senate. So we'll see how that goes. The Supreme Court also mulling over a case of abortion pill access, pushing back a deadline to weigh in on it from yesterday to tomorrow at midnight. And that leaves access to mifepristone available nationwide for now. Earlier this month, the lower court banned the drug. An appeals court rolled that decision back, but kept in some restrictions that would limit its availability. The Biden administration is asking the Supreme Court to continue allowing full access to the drug until the legal challenges play out. So now for a look at today's weather, here's April.
I'm meteorologist April Warneke. Morning temperatures in the 50s will warm to the mid-80s in the valley today under sunny skies. Winds out of the northeast this morning switch to a westerly direction this afternoon and stay pretty breezy again, between about 10 and 15 miles per hour. Breezy afternoons continue for the high country of our state as well, all the way through the weekend. Temperatures also slowly warm, with mild days ahead for the mountain communities, finally feeling a little more like spring there. The next chance of showers in the high country is early next week, when there's a slight chance of showers and high-base thunderstorms in the forecast Monday and Tuesday. It's something we're keeping an eye on. For the valley, an exiting trough of low pressure will leave us with a dry air mass, so abundant sunshine and a slow warming trend is on tap for your weekend. Look for a high temperature near 90 degrees for Friday, with some mid-90s likely both Saturday and Sunday. That's not record territory, but it is certainly above our normal high for this time of year, which would typically be in the mid to upper 80s. Next week, temperatures look to come down slightly, but do stay above average in the low 90s. Morning temperatures will stay cool around here for the next week in the 60s, and no rain is expected for the deserts of our state.